I guess we're at 12:03. Welcome everybody. Let's see how many we have on. Welcome. Hi Corey. Hi Taylor. Hey Sarah. How are you?
Yo, yo, yo.
Hi Hillary. I don't know who Crown is, but that's a cool name.
Hello.
Hi. All right, Carl, welcome. As people come in, I'm going to add them on, but I'm just going to go ahead and get started, you guys. Oh, how do I back up? All right, well, I guess what is the ISA model? Well, first of all, for any of you that don't know me, my name is Aleta Reynolds. I own and operate an ISA call center nationally right now. So we are in all 50 states and Canada. I have 60 ISAs that currently dial for dollars for my off-market properties and for clients that have hired us. And then we have a handful of coaching clients. So, now what you guys have decided to join in on is big picture implementing the ISA model into your existing business, or if you already have an ISA, learning some of the bottlenecks that you guys are probably seeing, but how to overcome them, or really just what steps did you miss as you were bringing an ISA into your team already. But yeah, I've been in the real estate business for 17 years. For the last 7 years, my focus has been the ISA model. Anything from dialing for dollars, speed to lead, even the lunch and learns, doing recruit calls. So absolutely anything to do with loading data into a dialer, programming caller IDs, having it integrate with your CRMs, and finding the right person to make those calls for you is absolutely my wheelhouse. And it's my one thing. So I do keep my license active for referrals and whatnot. That way I can cap and everything and enjoy the revenue share at EXP. But other than that, I pass off everything to my clients and my partners. But what is the ISA model? Establishing a department within your company where an inside sales associate is hired. Their key purpose is to increase and stabilize predictable ROI. So return on investment, which would be your lead sources, right? Your expenses, your CRM and your lead sources. Their primary responsibility is to be the gatekeeper in lead response, lead conversion, and client cultivation. By show of hands, or you guys can come off of mute, who has an ISA currently dialing for them? Anybody currently? Or are you guys dialing for yourself?
Hey, Aleta, I'm trying to get one onboarded. She's agreed, but just gonna get a start date here soon. So hopefully be dialing soon.
Great. And then what CRM do you have and data?
KV Core.
Okay, perfect. And then just the lead sources funneling in all the opt-in leads.
Yeah, Google, Zillow, OpCity, Ojo.
Yep.
And I'm thinking about, I don't know if you know anything like ConvertWire. I don't know. I've been seeing people talk about them. I've been thinking about talking with them. Great.
They do your circle prospecting for you.
Okay.
Farming and whatnot for you, essentially. Old ConvertWire is really, really good. They essentially take a Cole Realty data. I don't know if they get it from Cole, but it's essentially anything with an address in your zip code. And then they dial establishing good name, good number, and then long-term or short-term real estate needs. So when you get a lead from them, they may be ready to go, but a lot of times it's, that 3 to 9 month nurture.
That's what I thought. That's why I thought I might need an ISA.
Yeah. Or definitely, I think that anybody can benefit from having an ISA, even solo agents, but especially being able to cultivate that, requalify them, and get them on your guys' campaigns to keep them. That way you don't lose your leads to the next person.
Right.
Yeah. Did anybody else want to contribute if they had an ISA or if they were currently dialing for themselves?
So I'm currently dialing for myself. We use Follow Up Boss, which is integrated with Ylopo. And we get a lot of Ylopo leads. They come from Google, some of the regular sites like Zillow, things along those lines.
Yeah. Follow Up Boss is a great system. I love Ylopo's retargeting features. And if you ever have a frustration with their leads not having a good contact rate, if you meet with their rep and fine tune the data, it's unstoppable.
Yeah, they're super responsive if you run into any issues. So that's been awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, here's a definition of the ISA. ISA stands for Inside Sales Associate. We've also heard them called OSA. Let's see, hang on. Okay, cool. Yeah, using YLOPO with AI. Perfect. Perfect. And my opinion of a CRM is really the one that you use. Depending on your team size, we can go into that, but really the one that you like that makes sense to you is the best one to use. And then as you experience growth or bottlenecks, some have better features than others. But we've heard ISAs called OSAs, an outside sales associate. So you have one that takes incoming and one that makes outgoing. In our company, they're all ISAs. And not because we don't receive calls or do one or the other, but for us, the inside sales associate is the person they're responsible, boots on the ground for leads, to be the first contact to a lead. So in my call center and when I train ISAs, they're the only ones that touch the leads. So whether they're accepting calls in from signs or they're placing outbound calls to circle prospecting, expireds, cancels, FSBOs, or any leads that are opt-in that are coming in through your funnels, they're an ISA. And if you want to establish their role within your company, labeling them OSA, ISA, that way they know which leads they're responsible for. That's, of course, I've seen a lot of people do that. In real estate, an ISA is a skilled salesperson who focuses on incoming lead requests and perform outbound calls as well to generate new business. They take pride in quick lead response, quality lead conversion, and skilled with lead generation. They also develop skills in nurturing leads to an appointment, prepping a buyer or seller for the real estate agent to assist in many successful closings, hopefully a 1-to-4 ratio. And an ISA should not be confused with your personal assistant, showing assistant, or licensed agent. They're not the same thing. An ISA is there to work the leads within your CRM, qualify them, establish who's ready for an appointment based on their timeframe motivation, and who needs to continue to be nurtured, even down to arranging their home search criteria, sending them properties to see, or of course with listing appointments, getting them the information that they need to agree to a listing appointment, and then getting it off to the specialist in the area. So this week we're going to cover, or today we're going to cover, are you ready to hire an ISA, bottlenecks to be aware of, the ideal support and team structure to hire into, and why you'll need an ISA to sustain growth. Our next 3 weeks, here's some sneak peeks of what we're going to be covering. And if there's anything in here that we're not covering that would be of interest to you guys, just send me a quick email or comment at the end, and I'll certainly get into it for you. Hiring a coach and an ISA can be overwhelming, especially when the real estate leads are piling up. So be patient with yourself, and we're going to get through this together. I know that it's not the easiest thing to do. Here, are you ready to hire an ISA? Check off the line items to the right. Whichever you don't have, that's the best area to focus on prior to hiring an ISA. Okay. Do you currently have a CRM? If you don't have a CRM or Vulcan 7 or RedX or something along those lines, and all you have is bulk data from your lender or title company for them to dial by hand, I would recommend that you get a CRM. The best one is the one that either your real estate brokerage gives to you. I know at EXP, they give us KV Core, or the one that you can afford, the one that you're going to use. And then you can load those leads into there. The reason why is because when you have an ISA sitting down and dialing at a high volume, or even if they're sitting there dialing by hand and they dial 10 phone numbers an hour, there is no clean or organized way for them to mark off each lead and keep track of what happened with each call without them doing so in a CRM. To go one step further, I recommend the Mojo dialer system. That way you can have them dialing even with a single line dialer, tracking what's going on with each lead and keeping it organized, marking it good name, good number, tagging it along the way. You might tag by city, you might tag by their price point, by their motivation. Are they a nurture, warm, hot, etc.? If you don't have a CRM and you have someone dialing for you, or even you dialing for yourself, you're creating a huge problem that's going to have to be sorted out, or the work's going to have to be redone. And then do you currently have leads funneling into your CRM? If not, what data source do you have? Just things to consider before you make that hire. You can do expired, cancels, FSBOs, circle prospecting, but to have that plan in place before you do a hire. Do you already have a team structure? We're going to go into what a team structure should look like to successfully hire an ISA into it. Have you completed your 1-3-5 with expectations for implementing the ISA model into your business goals? If you've never done a 1-3-5 or you don't know what I'm referring to here, we're going to go into it. It's actually going to be a piece of your guys' homework. Are your buyer's agents able to convert your current leads to closing? So when you set an appointment for your buyer's agent or when they set an appointment for themselves, are they converting those appointments? If not, there could be some really strong disconnects between your buyer's agents being able to close the deal, and adding more appointments to their funnel before you've worked out those kinks is going to cause a huge bottleneck. You're going to be like, is it the ISA? Is it my agents? What's going on? So if you are seeing appointments from your current data source and they're not being converted, I would have a coach, or you can even, ask me to take a look at things, but take a look at that piece first, because having more appointments set by somebody else isn't going to fix that problem. So that's usually one that isn't really addressed, because you're like, what could be wrong with more appointments? Until all of a sudden you're getting, 4 extra appointments a day. And you're like, I have no idea what to do with this. And I'm not referring to your sphere of influence or your referral leads. What I'm referring to is if you already have buyer's agents or listing agents or seller's agent, on your team, making sure that they can convert those leads, because it's a different animal and could require some training. Do you have a P&L for hiring your ISA? Do you have that budget in place so that you know how much you can afford to pay them? And then have you trained another listing agent on your team to take appointments on your behalf? With you being the team leader, you're most likely the ones taking listing appointments. And when you bring on another hire in an already producing business, if you don't have somebody to take those listing appointments for you, you're going to see a decline in your business 45 days later. So it's just better to get prepared instead of rushing to get started. Any questions on that before we go into the 135 based on getting ready? Do you guys have any comments or questions at all? No? Okay. So the very first thing to getting ready to hiring an ISA is establishing what your production goals are. Why are you bringing on an ISA? Do you want 10 more closings a month? Do you want 200 extra closings a year? Do you want your buyer's agents to have 1 extra one a week? What does that look like as far as closed production for your team or for yourself as a solo agent? And I'd like for you guys to do this as some fun homework. If you've never done a 135, they're really fun to do. I actually do them on New Year's Day every single year. I take my one big goal, per, leg of my big dreams, right? And for you guys, it would be hiring an ISA. So your big goal, number 1, you put in this box right here is hiring an ISA. And then here are the 3 whys, right? Increased production, make sure that your leads aren't neglected, and, keep an organized CRM. Organize your campaigns, be able to get more listing appointments, be there for you so you can go be out with clients, those types of things. And then 5 action items of what you need to do in order to bring on that ISA. But it starts with your production goal. And let me just go on to the next one. So number 1, decide on your production goal for the year. If you have a coach, meet with your coach if you haven't already. A lot of times real estate coaches will pull you aside anyway, and they'll say, hey, all right, so what are your production goals for the year? And you'll be able to backtrack them on how many closings you need to do a month. From there, you'll want to take a look at how many appointments you needed to go on in order to have those closings. And, don't be shy about it. It might not be the ratio that you think is good or you think is something to brag about, but put it on paper. I promise I won't tell anybody. If you need 20 appointments to close 2, it's all right. We all have to start somewhere. But if you aren't sure what your production goal should be and you have a team, meet with your individual team members and see what their production goals are. That way you can add those up and come up with a team production goal. Backtrack it into monthly closings that need to be had. Average your current amount of appointments that you need to go on in order to get your closings. And then you have a good starting point on what your goals for your ISA are going to be. Okay. And then the 3 action items need to include appointment set, how many leads you need to have in order to get those appointments if you know your numbers. And then, how many the ISA would account for. And you guys can take a screenshot of this if you want to, or I know that we're going to be sending out this recording to you as well. So just some things to put in there, have some fun with it. If you have any questions, of course, you guys can send me an email or a message, but this will give you some really clear focus on what you want your ISA to do by the time they start with you. Does anybody already have a 135 or production goal set with your coach right now? Corey, I know you have production goals. Taylor, let's hear your production goals. I know you got some.
You want my production goals for the year?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to hit 25 at least.
Where are you at now?
I did 18 last year.
All right.
Top from 8 the previous year, so I'm doing well.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. All right. So this will make it pretty easy for you. And when you do the monthly average, leave out December because you want to have them closed by December for them to count. How many appointments did you have to go on in order to get those closings?
You know, I'm the worst person to interview for this because I don't actually have numbers handy for something like that.
That makes you the best person because this is real life. This is, if we don't know our numbers or how many appointments it takes, it's really hard to hire an ISA because you're just shooting darts at a board blind. So you're actually the best person to call in because I think everybody can probably relate, right? I didn't know, how many appointments I needed to until I was actually tracking it and doing it. Corey, what about you? Do you have your production goals or how many appointments you need to set to go on them?
Can you hear me, Aleta?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I don't have any right now at the moment, and I just want to tell you I'm just following along. I have my laptop sitting on the console, and I'm driving.
Amazing. Look at you. That's leverage right there. You're committed.
So I'm here, but I'm gonna mute you back.
What's that?
I said I'm gonna mute you back, so that way I can just listen and follow along.
No problem. Yeah, no, that's fine. Focus on driving. All right, but with this activity, you guys just do the best that you can. Taylor, if you think that you had to go on 6 appointments to, get 2 closings, just jot that down. Have a starting point. Because when you hire an ISA, you want to tell them that you expect them to set 2 appointments an hour and 4 appointments a day. And be able to, for every 2 appointments, they're getting 1 solid nurture. Right. And then when they're setting you too many appointments, you want to say, okay, we need to really qualify these appointments based on time frame motivation. So let's back this off onto 1 really good appointment an hour and then 2 nurtures. Okay. Because when you hire an ISA and you say, hey, call through these, let me know what you get, there's no expectation set. And then you don't really know what you're hiring them for or any way to measure, how to hold them accountable. And then the fun really starts when you're going, do I have the right data to reach those goals? You can ask your ISA to set you 4 appointments a day all you want, but if you don't have the right lead sources, it's gonna be really difficult to do that. Not impossible, but just knowing before you start. So knowing what you guys need in order to be successful before you hire an ISA is a really great way to start before you get started. All right, here's just a little fun warning. Once you bring on an ISA in-house or you hire out for services, many bottlenecks and holes in your system will be uncovered. Please take advantage of the ISA training, basic training, and team leader training to stay 1 step ahead of the headaches. We'll help you through it, and in the end, you'll have a smooth running business with a solid foundation. And here are some of the bottlenecks that we see very commonly with some of the huge teams and smaller teams that we work for. You never think having more appointments is a huge issue until it tests every single part of your system. And it's like, hey, you just built this new boat, and now you're going to see if there's any holes in it. You put it in the water, and all of a sudden it just starts leaking from every crack that you forgot to fill. Well, the answer isn't to take the boat out of the water and turn it into something that's not a boat, right? The answer is to fix the cracks and to keep going. You just don't want to add more weight to the boat, okay? And I like using the boat analogy because I'm sure you can just imagine this brand new boat, you got this brand new ISA, you get it in there, you sit down, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be great, it's gonna be beautiful, we're gonna go to lots of great places, it can be a huge success, I'm gonna brag to everybody about my new boat, aka ISA, and then all of a sudden it's testing every part of your system, and usually it's the things that we're avoiding, right, that we don't wanna look at anyway, and the ISA functioning at a high level is screaming at you to pay attention to them. So these are some common ones. Sarah, I don't know if you're in a position to talk or not. Do you currently have an ISA or a team? I don't know if she's able to talk. Carl, what about you? Are you in the position to talk? That's a great headshot, by the way.
Yeah, I can talk.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your current business. Do you have a team? Are you a solo agent? Do you currently have an ISA?
Yeah, so I've got an ISA that's committed, just need to get them on start date. I've got one agent working, I've got another agent onboarding. I've got, oh yeah, and two other agents that are onboarding. So that's why I'm kind of like, oh, I better get them some appointments. Because I think I can set myself enough appointments and another agent, but I don't think I can do two more. So I'm kind of like, I'm worried, but I'm open, you know, the ISA plus some of the referral lead sources like Ojo and OpCity. I signed up for Rise Consulting as well. So I'm
Great.
onboarding with them this week as well. I got a lot going on right now. So I'm kind of like, yeah,
Perfect.
it's a little crazy.
Yeah, you have some great lead sources. Your ISA is going to come into some lead sources that have a really good contact rate. Some of the problems or systems and process for you to have in place is going to be your lead pass off system. You know,
Okay.
as far as your ISA setting the appointments for your agents, we do have some streamlined ways of doing that. But that way, as agents come in, you're already thinking one step ahead of the curve. So when you sit your ISA down, you're like, yep, the appointment needs to go on their calendar. And maybe you create an ISA Gmail that all their calendars are shared with that, and they're putting it directly on their calendar, checking for conflicts, you know, as they set an appointment.
Okay.
But as you bring in the agents, you can just let them know, hey, we're going to set appointments directly on your calendar. The ISA, you train them, they're going to go on your calendar, check for conflicts. That way, the ISA doesn't start just one suggestion, and all of a sudden they're setting appointments, and your agents are like, well, wait a second, I didn't get it, or there was no reminder, or I have a conflict, or all these stressors that have to do with something that should be really fun and happy, which is going on a new appointment.
Right.
You know, and when the ISA is setting 4 appointments a day with your data, they very well could, if not more. If you don't have that system, all of a sudden you're up, 10 o'clock at night going, what are we going to do with these appointments?
I want that problem.
It's a really good problem to have until it continues to happen and you don't have a solution. But that's a fun one. It's a fun one to work through, just something to be mindful of.
Okay.
And then also, as they're dialing your leads, when they're not ready for an appointment, what nurture system, what campaigns are they going to be assigning? And just having that mental checklist of, all right, well, if they're not qualified for an appointment today, this is what you're going to do with them within our CRM. That way you don't get through it, 30 days down the road and you're going, well, what happened to all these nurtures? Call them back. And you realize you never tagged and sorted them appropriately.
That's true. Yeah.
So
oh,
just little steps, little things that can create, stressful bottlenecks. But I'm excited for you guys. I think that you're already in the right spot. I've heard some really good things about Rise.
Cool.
Okay. We also go through the problem of realization of having too many leads. So where you don't have enough ISAs or agents, which is a good problem to have, or not enough leads. And it starts to weigh on the team leader because everything goes back to you. You are the end all sale and you are the problem solver. So here are just 8 things to kind of take a look at to be ahead of the curve. That way you don't have all 8 problems in 1 week that you have to, sit down and troubleshoot and make decisions, that maybe you didn't give a lot of thought to. And then, if you're in need of a preferred lender, when the ISA is there talking to buyers, we find it's very valuable for the ISA to get them pre-approved before, you're meeting them at a house, especially in this market. So we have systems in place with our ISAs to where they can live transfer to the lender or put the appointment on the lender's calendar to get them pre-approved, even within an hour of each other. So, what that scenario could look like is, we talked to Susan Smith and Susan Smith wants to buy a home, but she hasn't talked to a lender. She's available tonight. They don't want to miss out on this house because they've already missed out on 3. And so the ISA says, hey, no problem. Let me just get you on the phone with my lender. Live transfer, get them there within 2 hours. Usually lenders with a 2-hour notice, can talk to your buyer, go through some general questions. And then before they meet your agent out at the house, Susan's got her letter of, yep, as long as there's nothing that we don't know about, her debt to income ratio is good, the interest rate or the payment or this price point is something that is doable, based off of that initial conversation. So just one more way to use your ISA as leverage so that you don't have your buyer's agent meeting buyers at a house that aren't pre-approved or they're at the wrong price point taking away from your other leads. Sometimes it's really not that you need to pay more money for leads. We just need to repurpose our time and give the ISA one more job, one more layer of qualifying the leads before we, tie up our buyer's agents. So if you don't have a preferred lender, definitely work on one. They do like to contribute to CRMs, lead sources, and, be a preferred vendor with helping split costs. So they're really great to have in your back pocket. And educating agents converting appointments set by their ISA. Sometimes that's 90 days in, because you don't know what problems you're going to have until you've set 40 appointments and you guys have only converted 2. And you're like, well, what happened to the other 38? And you realize that you have some learning curves, not only with the ISA for their pass off, but how the agent converts their appointments. And so just coaching to be ahead of the curve there. Accountability on lead conversion. I am going to leave you guys with some spreadsheets at the end of this month on how we track our ISA's numbers, and then also the jot form. So at the end of the day, they put in their report and it zaps over to your spreadsheet, and you have a running totals tab and everything's automated. So it's pretty cool to see what their amount of dials, time on task, and their results. So appointments, nurtures, callbacks, live transfers, etc. It's all on the jot form and in the spreadsheet that I'm going to give to you guys. And then tracking your numbers in the ISA department. That way, when you meet with your coach and they say, well, how many appointments are they setting? And we're like, well, we don't know. Well, how many dials did they make? Well, we don't know. So we're paying them 40 hours a week, but we don't know what they're doing. And it's hard to hire a coach or hire someone to help you. Even if you don't know what those numbers mean right off the bat, having them start tracking their numbers so that you have them available, your coach or, even myself will be able to decipher them for you. Okay. Here is an ideal team structure. Before we go into this, any questions at all? Is everybody good liking it so far? All right, so this is the ideal structure. This was suggested by our national teams coach, Mike Gerbic, as an ideal team structure prior to hiring an ISA. I align with Mike's coaching very much so, because it's very much, hey, in a perfect world, this is what we would suggest. If you've hired off and different and it's working for you, don't fire anyone. This is just hey, if we can pre-plan it, this is one of the systems that he would suggest you guys have. So having that office manager or admin. So here's you. And then you have 2 to 4 buyers agents, 1 to 2 listing agents. You have your CRM, you have your lead flow. The agents are maxing out. The listing agents are, at capacity or they're satisfied. And you're like, okay, I can't dial anymore. They can't dial anymore. We've plateaued on production. Now let's incorporate an ISA and showing partners into our company. We've even seen teams that get that TC well before they get an ISA, and that listing marketing coordinator well before they get an ISA. And that way you have this smooth running machine before you bring an ISA into your team. And, a lot of teams follow this model and they have a great success with it. I'll tell you that I do have, oh, cool, Brett's coming on. I do have some pros and cons just from the ISA standpoint to be mindful of with that model. And the pros are, the ISAs come into a neglected database. And I know what you're thinking, well, neglected, that can't be good. But for an ISA, when we get brought a neglected database, and what that means is that no one's really dialed the leads more than once, and it's 90 days at least old. When we sit down and dial, we are getting appointments left and right. We are qualifying leads. We are doing solid dial sessions. I mean, we've seen CRMs that we get them loaded into our Mojo dialer. We can't even have them on a triple line dialer because of how good the contact rate is. And we'll qualify 6 to 10 nurtures and set, anywhere from 4 to 6 appointments in one dial session off of a neglected database. All right. So for an ISA that you're just hiring in, whether they have an experience or not, it's a really good situation. They get confidence, they get the practice with their scripting, and then your agents get really happy because they get appointments right away. And that usually lasts for about 45 to 60 days, to where you don't have to do much with your data or your database, or, with rotating data or getting more lead sources, because there's so many good nuggets in there for the ISA to qualify and pass off, that everybody's happy, and the team leader's happy because we're finally doing something with all these leads that you paid for. So one of the other pros that we have is the ISA has leads to nurture. What typically happens when buyer's agents are taking the leads they're being speed to lead, they're qualifying for the lowest hanging fruit. So if they're not ready to buy a house, in the next 30 days, they're not meeting with them and they become nurtures. Well, typically leads coming in, only 1 to 5% of them is going to be ready to go right now if you only go 2 or 3 questions deep on the phone. And so all of these leads in there just turn into this massive nurture pipeline for the ISA to make those second, third, and fourth calls. And it's easier to jump into a nurture pipeline and be the second to fifth phone call passing leads off than to build it. You get that instant gratification, which, in today's world, we can all use, some more of that. So, that's a really good thing. We find that our ISAs don't burn out as fast, when they can jump in and get a confidence booster right off the bat. Your buyer's agents are so busy, they welcome the help. So they've already got to the point where they're losing leads, right? If you guys have it set up with a Shark Tank and your lead routing, they don't get to the lead within 1 to 5 minutes. It goes to someone else and it defaults to the pond when nobody picks it up. And, they welcome seeing appointments on their calendar without having to do anything for it. The ISA can get full-time hours, right off the bat, dialing and fall into their ideal schedule. The team's bringing in revenue to support an additional team member. So hiring an ISA isn't a stress either because you're already bringing in the money to pay for them. And then the team production isn't going to be impacted by an ISA learning curve, so to speak, because the agents are already at max capacity and any blips or any issues that an ISA has as they're, converting leads, you guys can usually just kind of see the punches and get another appointment quickly. With all that said, here's some of the cons just to be mindful of, because you do kind of get sticker shock when you see the results. A database becoming neglected is a huge waste of leads. We see a minimum of 25% lost business, buyer and seller. So if you are buying the more expensive seller leads, I suggest either you or getting an ISA right away. And I'll give you an ideal team structure from an ISA's perspective. And then somewhere in the middle, of course, there's a sweet spot that'll make sense to you guys. But anytime that we dial a neglected database, we have a section there that says lost business. And it's a minimum of 25% people have already bought or sold, that we talk to that answer the phone. So good name, good number. You can't help them. Of course, it could be future business, in 2 to 5 years when they want to sell again. But as far as becoming a waste of money that you've already spent now, I've never seen a neglected database that doesn't have a minimum of 25% loss. So take your budget that you're spending, take 25% of what you're spending and just throw it out the window. I actually bought this fake prop money to do a video on neglected databases of throwing money away. Because that's really what you're doing, when you don't have anybody calling them and being mindful of your leads coming in. Your buyer's agents tend to have a hard time letting go of getting the new leads, and they become very territorial of their nurtures. We've seen, a lot of turnover in the buyer's agent department. When you bring on these agents, you're like, hey, here's my value proposition. You got more leads than you know what to do with. They're going to come right to your phone. If you can't work with them right away, just put them as a nurture and no big deal. We'll just get to them later. And then all of a sudden you're like, all right, guys, we need to bring in some structure. We're bringing in an ISA and they're going to get the new leads now. And hey, by the way, anybody that you don't know on a first name basis is going to go back to the pond and we're going to round robin all those appointments again. It tends to rub agents the wrong way. And one of the first things that a team lead will do is decide that an ISA isn't a good fit for them anymore, or change what the ISA does to keep the agents. And I don't think anybody's winning at that point. You do need your closers, and it's hard to train agents and bring agents on. Okay, sorry, I was just looking at the chat. But if you have a question, guys, you can do the hand raising or just blurt it out, just in case I missed the chat. But that's a huge problem and something to be mindful of as the leader of your team. Is you're bringing on these agents, they're looking to you to provide for them, right? Your value proposition. And when all of a sudden the rug's yanked from underneath them, it's hard. But it's equally hard for the ISA not to get the new leads. That your buyer's agents are still driving around, showing homes, out to dinner, out to happy hour, taking their kids to school, and they're responding to leads. it's not quality, it's not a good look, and there's still lost business. But changing, your buyer's agent's expectations can be very difficult. The disc of a buyer's agent isn't as flexible sometimes. Yes, Sarah. I see your hand up, girlfriend.
Can't hear me? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. My question is, so I'm an individual agent at this point, but I'm wondering, and I'm wondering if I'm taking this correctly. At this point, are you saying for an individual agent, an ISA is not necessarily the way to go? Or
No, not at all, actually.
Work?
I have a solo team. I have a solo structure here after this one.
Okay. Perfect.
An ISA for a solo agent, just for any of the other solo agents on here. There are solo agents that I see on here that are also with a brokerage to where we have what's called a modern team. And that means that we've attracted agents nationally that we can still make sure that they're getting leads, or we can still support them. And that revenue share, profit share, whichever, brokerage you're a part of, with EXP, it's revenue share, it gets paid, forward, and it's their value proposition. So there's a modern team structure to where, let's say that you're the one that wants to have an ISA, even if it's to set appointments for you or to be mindful of the leads for you. And then anything that you have a buyer or seller that's moving out of state, they can refer that out to, somebody you can still get a commission. Or if you have a modern team to where there's people in your downline that you want to send appointments to, that ISA can work on your behalf. But typically I see solo agents that have, they have Op City, or they have Ojo, or they have Z Buyer. They have even the YLoco FUB integrations. And, you still need an ISA as leverage. That way you're not dialing from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and having to handle inspections and having to negotiate offers and having to get lock boxes on houses. You still need that support system, especially if you're working your buyers and your sellers. I've seen solo agents that still set their own listing appointments, but they have an ISA setting their buyer appointments for them, because buyers that aren't qualified, right? If you just rush through the process, yep, I'll meet you there, I'll meet you at the house. You're not getting them pre-approved. You're not asking lengthy questions. You're not changing their property searches. It becomes a huge drain on you and your business, to where just having an ISA, paying an ISA anywhere from $8 an hour to $15 an hour, and then bonusing them accordingly, depending on where you find your ISA. Just paying that when you're worth $300 an hour is well worth the leverage. Absolutely. And it's my recommendation, as soon as you get that CRM and lead source, start looking for that ISA that can sit with you while you still have enough time to make your own calls, right? And they can learn from you. Because when you're at max capacity and you can't train them anymore, then you have to pay the money for a coach to train them. And you might be able to, heck, you sell one more home, you can set the money aside to have them trained. But if they can learn from you, even if it's a virtual ISA, that's invaluable. They're learning you, they're learning what you like, they're learning your preferences, and then you can fine tune everything with an ISA coach. So I even say to have them hired and then use the TC, that the brokerage gives you. That way you can still have somebody managing your paperwork for $200 to $400 a file, but then that ISA is your first assistant, because they can do CRM management, they can build out campaigns for you, and they can make calls for you. Okay. But yeah, so here's some of the cons to be mindful of, when you bring an ISA in after you've already established your business. But you know what, I'm going to go into pros and cons of hiring an ISA right away too. So really it's like, pick your struggle. This right here though, the database being neglected and you're wasting leads, that catches a lot of team leaders, off guard. And when they do the math, especially when you're buying Zillow leads, realtor.com, something that's costing $200 a lead, you can't afford that. Nobody can. And it's just that uppercut of, oh my gosh, why did I do that? And, I know you just have to move on, but man, when we talk to 200 people and, 25% of them at minimum, I've seen 89, half of the people, 89, 90 people have already purchased or sold even after 200 dials with some databases. especially like Commissions Inc. when you have really good leads. Here's some solutions for you guys. Hold your agents accountable to the leads assigned to them, including taking the leads in their area of expertise only. What that means is that if you guys have buyer's agents and you live in a big city, right? Southern California, Houston, parts of Atlanta, there's huge cities that you're driving 2 hours, across your city. Have them break off into little sections, even certain parts of Missouri. There's just huge areas, huge vast areas, a lot of real estate to cover. And if you give your agent a section and then buy leads in those sections and say, hey, if you get one round robin to you, don't take it, pass it on to somebody else. It creates a lot of good team camaraderie. But then it also holds you accountable as a team lead to really look at what you're purchasing. Because if you're buying lead sources and you're not specific on the areas, you're going to get so much junk. That's a waste of money too. So it really helps you be a little bit more mindful of what you're purchasing. Don't over purchase leads. A little bit goes a long ways. There are apps like OpCity and Ojo that your agents can be a part of, and you don't pay anything until it closes. So to supplement, use free lead sources. Get them from your title company and stuff as well. Be sure to keep weekly reports. I think I want to back up on that one. There was another cool thing I wanted to tell you guys. If the agent hasn't met them in person, send it to the community pond. So don't let them take ownership of that nurture. But there's absolutely a way to stay ahead of the curve, you as a team leader, without losing, buyer's agents. And here's just, some things to help you guys keep organized. Okay. Here's an additional team, alternate team structure. This is ideal from an ISA company perspective. Your sales manager and operations manager, I feel like, are going to be those people that you promote internally. So you may not have them until you're a couple years in, but just being mindful of that position. Typically, the team leader takes over both of those positions until you've groomed someone to take that over, or been fortunate enough to met someone that has those natural abilities. A lot of times that operations manager is your guys' partner, to where you have the high DI, the one that's good at recruiting and retention and going on appointments. And then you have your high DC that's really good at paying attention to detail and keeping track of your P&L. But this right here, so this would be the order that, from an ISA standpoint, that would be successful. One, we have our team lead or solo agent. And then we have a TC, whether it's the one, and Sarah, this would be relevant to you as well, but I do have one just for solo agents. You can use the TC that your brokerage provides, or you can have one in-house. I really like the leverage of using the one that the brokerage does, and just having that cost be, cost of doing business. That way it's not one more person to keep track of and one more person on your payroll. So that's just my take on it. And then this is where you have your ISA. So we have team lead, we have your TC, we have your leverage, we have your ISA dialing. Whether you have Vulcan 7, you have RedX, you have My Plus leads, you have FUB and YLOPO, you have KV Core trickling in, you've got an OpCity and Ojo funneling into your KV Core, you have the starter package with Commissions Inc., or maybe you went big and you got Sierra Interactive and you have all of these, 20 different lead sources funneling in, down from ZBuyer to Bold to HomeLight, Google pay-per-click. You got Brian Short on the phone. You said, hey, I heard you got the best pay-per-click and I want to subscribe. Have your ISA. And like I was telling Sarah, they can learn from you. You're already going to go through 90 days to 6 months of your ISA failing forward, and let them make the mistakes with you. And then they'll learn from you and be able to, prevent having, making mistakes with your buyer's agent. And you guys can bring on buyer's agents together. And then from there, I like to use the leverage of a VA for CRM management. They work really well with the ISA. The ISA can do it in the beginning, and then that can be another hire. But then from there, you get your admin and your marketing manager, and then you bring on your buyers and sellers agents, pretty much at the same time. I've seen buyers agents come on to help you guys as you're calling leads, because they just bog down your team leaders. And most of the time, a team leader's disc isn't going to be out closing buyer appointments at a high level and enjoying it. They really want to do the listings and then focus on big picture. So I see a lot of buyers agents naturally joining teams that are in the same brokerage. You know, you're like, hey, I got more buyers appointments than I know what to do with. My ISA Alex is working at a high level. And then they naturally want to join your team because, you know, they get 2 to 4 appointments their first day and then they're happy. But they get recruited into the ISA model. So the expectations are already set. And then of course we have our VA content creator, which this could be the same person, content creator and CRM management. And then of course, big picture, we got to have our 1 ISA per 10 agents. That's a really good ratio. And then as you hire on showing assistants, 1 showing assistant per 4 agents as well. That way they can use some leverage. But this right here is another one. I feel like it's a clean way to add an ISA, but pros and cons as well, you guys, to doing it this way. Pros, the ISA comes in to work the CRM lead flow from the start. The team leader has time to devote the build out and process. The ISA can build the nurture pipeline. The buyer's agents are easily hired into the system. The team owners maxed on their appointments right away. Team production won't be impacted by an ISA agent learning curve. But some cons, the database is going to be fresh. The lead flow is going to be limited to fill in ISA's hours. So now you're put in a position to hire a part-time ISA. And honestly, the quality of a part-time ISA versus full-time typically isn't there. You usually go through a few hires before you get someone that can really do the volume that it takes to retain the knowledge. And then a team lead won't have the ability to pass off appointments quickly without having agents on board, and that rushes them to hire on agents and maybe not qualify the agents at a high level. And then the buyer's agents coming on may not be used to an ISA, so there's a learning curve there. And then of course your CRM development is not going to be established. So it's not like your ISA is coming into a neglected database with campaigns already set and, you know, tons of leads raising their hand ready to go. It's one for them to work into it. I've seen ISAs start part-time dialing, and then you have them also as content creators, learning how to post stuff on YouTube, get your campaigns in line. And I would really suggest budgeting for that 40 hours a week, getting that good person, and then, you know, bringing on lead sources that maybe don't nickel and dime you. Don't start off with Zillow. Don't start off with $200 a lead. Start off with some of our more affordable lead sources, and then leverage your CRM to help convert them. And then this, Sarah, this is for solo agents that I drew up. I love it when solo agents have ISAs. It's so powerful. And so here's a way that you can do that. A lot of times solo agents, you don't have somebody that has your brand, but you've already made the connection in the office to take that buyer across town or to take that listing across town. That way you're already managing your time. And it might be more difficult with the pandemic and whatnot. So you're not seeing people in office, you know, maybe as much as you used to, but I would say that a solo agent naturally is going to find those referral agents right away. That way they get those referral checks in. But if you don't already have that, be looking for that talent that can close appointments like you and start taking stuff off your plate. That way, as you hire an ISA, you have time for them. And if you're able to get an ISA before you get into this mess of having more leads than you know what to do with, that to me is ideal. That way they can pass it off to the referral agent and you're not bogged down with the conversations and keeping up on what happened to the lead, or, you know, having to kind of date that referral agent, so to speak, to make sure that it's getting closed. You can use your ISA as leverage for accountability to make sure that that appointment was closed. And it's just all about leverage. It's all about, you know, buying your time back. Okay. And this is really good for agents with a modern team. If you can devote to making that hire or hiring a VA to dial leads on your behalf or on their behalf, even if it's OpCity, you know, or Ojo or any other lead sources that you have, and passing it off to agents on your modern team. This doesn't have to be out of state. This could be that you're working in Houston and you found an agent on the other side of Houston that wants to join your downline, and you're able to get all the leads and have your ISA pass off the ones that you want, cherry pick them, and then get the other ones out to the agents so that you don't have lost business. And, you know, of course you can charge a little bit more on that referral fee, and the revenue share will just pay forward, you know, so it's a no brainer on leveraging that ISA. And then solo agents, you guys need your marketing and admin as well. You need your VA content creators, and then you also need your TC. Once again, I would use a brokerage TC. No, oops, let me go back real quick. You guys need a content creator. You guys are a one-woman, one-man show. You need to be relevant on social media or Google or YouTube or something. And when I was a solo agent, I had a blog. I had a video blog. I used BombBomb. I would record a couple times a week. I would send out a video weekly, sometimes monthly when I got really busy. But it was all about what I was doing. Another sign in the ground, a really cool story about helping a family, closing on a buyer, doing an open house. I just recorded all of that. And if I were to do it over, I would have found that VA content creator that I could have just given it to them. They could have done a front cover and a back cover and edited out some of the ums and some of the awkward pauses, maybe fixed the lighting, and then scheduled all the posts on the main social media. Because if you can get out of the rat race of having to buy leads and become a referral agent organically from social media, these leads, it's the power of social media. They feel like they know you. And it's also what you can do to your CRM with lead flow. If you get them on your social media, or your ISA does, they're going to feel like they know you, and you're going to have less of a loss when it comes time to appointments, no showing and going with someone else. So it's still invaluable for a solo agent to be relevant and present. And I'm not saying you need to have your face on your signs or a billboard or anything like that. You can even be mindful of who you add to your social media. I'm not saying you need to have your address on there, even just a main city, of where you work. But having it relevant that you're the gal or guy to go to whenever they need to sell a home is going to be invaluable for you sustaining your business. Okay. Any questions on this type of structure or making those hires or anything that comes to mind? Okay, cool. I hope this is valuable to you guys. So why hire an ISA when you have agents? I'm not sure if you guys knew this, but you will increase your closing opportunities by 35% in the first 6 months. I've been tracking what our teams are capable of, the teams that we take on and provide ISA services to. They average a 36% increase in business just by incorporating ISA Alex. And ISA Alex from my call center is actually a representation of all of my ISAs. When they dial and sit into a client's account, they all go by Alex. I feel like I did it before Zillow, but I didn't trademark it. So all of my ISAs have been the same name for a good 5 years now. And it makes it easier for our clients because whether it's female or male, you just know, hey, my assistant Alex called you and I just want to confirm the appointment today. And it just makes it easier for everybody as we're working nationally. But hiring an ISA will increase your closing opportunities by 35% minimum in the first 6 months. It's leverage to keep your agents showing homes and writing contracts, even yourself. So Sarah, even you as a solo agent, you'll have peace of mind negotiating repairs, getting a prep for another listing appointment, knowing that your ISA Alex sat down and they dialed. And even if in 2 hours, they're exhausting your Vulcan 7 and they only set one good listing appointment and they got you, 2 to 3 nurtures, that's still time that you didn't have to go and do. And you didn't have to expend energy changing your hats, as a real estate agent. You guys change your hats at least 10 times a day, even as a realtor. And it's one more thing. And you kind of get beaten down, making those dials too. So I feel like it keeps you in this get it done energy space, and you don't have to flex into, customer service, trying to drum up business. It's just being done for you. You're going to build a foundation for sustainable growth. This is going to help with you guys making your money-making pipelines. And it helps you not have to increase your lead budget when your agent count doesn't increase. So by you guys having an ISA that builds a pipeline with the leads that you guys aren't able to help right away, you're not going to see that you're going to have to double down on lead expenses, even though your agent count, is still the same as it was prior to what you were spending. But if you just keep turning and burning through leads and paying for leads and only get the lowest hanging fruit, you're going to exhaust your budget and you're going to exhaust yourself. And then you're going to send it over to us and we're going to dial and see, 50% loss. of business with the money that you put there. So, and then it'll be a separate department for lead conversion, which will ensure a higher quality of accountability. ISAs, an ISA department, lead conversion department really is its own. And when you only have agents being speed to lead and dialing agents, you're already meeting with them for their one-on-ones based on closings. Now, if you had to set time aside and drill your agents on, well, how many leads did you pick up? How many answered the phone? How many attempts did you make? You know, how come your dialing report isn't filled out? I don't even think agents even fill out dialing reports. So there's just a lot there that, you know, your agents are going to be keeping track of, and you're going to be continuously just dumping money into, you know, this lead pit and these CRMs, not knowing what's wrong. So until you have that one person, that ISA, that is the first touch to all your leads and the last touch after it becomes an appointment, and they're required to be keeping good reports and held accountable to their dialing, you're not going to know what's wrong with your lead conversion. And it gets to be really costly, especially when you want to be the #1 agent in your area, or you want to double or triple your production. You're like, why can't I do this? So even if it's an ISA that's working part-time, even though I support full-time, it's still one more thing that they're tracking it. And then when you meet with them once a month, you'll be able to have a clear picture of what's going on. All right. Oh gosh, I can't believe I did that in an hour. That's wow, that's great. It's actually 1 o'clock right now, Central Time. So, well, cool. I have 30 minutes set aside. Any questions, comments, anything absolutely you guys want to dive into? If you're under a time crunch and you want to go first, certainly, you know, just start talking. And then anybody that wants to stay behind, I do have my content creator ready to just kind of get a short review, you know, from you guys. That way we can use it for our website. But what questions or comments or anything that you guys have that I can help you? You're welcome, Taylor. Thank you. Thank you for joining. It was good to hear from you again.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So if we were to give you the information that our goals and our CRM and turn it over to your company, is that something that you can hire who you feel is the best to help us?
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody that doesn't want to take on hiring, training, and managing their own ISA, we do work with clients nationally and in Canada. We start with what CRM you have. So what CRM are you currently working with right now? And I actually can't see who's talking. I'm sorry.
It's Leah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So when you right now, with you guys having Commissions Inc., we know that, like, you know, like the back of our hand. It's one of our main CRMs. Steve over there, I've been, you know, working on his CRM for a good 7 years. So, and all of my ISAs are trained on it. So even if your goal is to have someone in-house, but you're like, I need to get a grasp on this right now, we do have clients that hire us for a project. You know, the minimum 60 days at a time, because I require a 1 month notice. But even if you just wanted to do 60 days or 90 days to where we could dial, scrub your database, get your nurtures cataloged, pass off the appointments, and get a system to train your ISA into, that would at least be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I don't want to do any training. I am not a good trainer. I've learned that. I kind of want to just hand it over and see what happens.
That sounds great. And my lead manager, Gian, is on here. I can have, Gian, can you message Leah directly and just share your the Calendly link? And you can schedule an appointment for a consultation and just see. You'll also get my network price because you guys paid for the class to be on there. So there's a main price and then there's a network price, and you guys will get the network price. All right. Yeah, so I would get with Gian and schedule a consult call, and then we can get you onboarded and get you started. You know, getting appointments and stuff set for you.
Okay. Yeah, I sent her the link just now.
Okay, great. And Leah, I would recommend at least the advanced package, for you guys. The basic is probably fine too, but with what you have going on, I guess let's start with how many appointments you guys can handle in a week. And then from there, we can tier you off to a package. And then Jan, if you just want to let me know when she scheduled that, and then I'd like to be a part of it if I can, as long as there's no conflict with my schedule. So
Thank you very much. This was very helpful.
okay, perfect. I'm not sure who was Crown GV9, but you didn't have speaker for the camera today, but thank you for coming on and send us a message. And then Janet, you can put the Calendly link in there for anybody that wants to schedule, an ongoing call or talk about services. But Leah, you have the perfect system and setup for us to be able to help you. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, perfect. Sarah. Okay, Sarah. Yeah. That sounds great. Sarah, what CRM do you have? I'm not sure if I answered to book a la carte appointments. Carlos, yes. So we do set appointments, whether if you have Vulcan 7 or any type of listing appointment, seller data. We do dial expired FSBOs for rent by owners. We've even been known to dial probate and pre-foreclosure and do circle prospecting and sell those by appointment. So you would be able to just buy listing appointments if you wanted to. It's anywhere from $250 to $350 up front, and then I charge a referral fee at the back end. And that's anywhere from 10 to 25%, just depending on the situation. So, but schedule an appointment, and then we can talk about what data you have. And from there, get you to the right place with our ISAs. If you want us to call buyer appointments, we can, but most of the time when we get paid per appointment, it's with sellers, but we can do buyers as well. Follow-up boss. Yeah, I don't know what's going on either, Sarah, but that's fine. That's right, follow-up boss. Yeah, absolutely. We can certainly work within your follow-up boss. That's one of our main CRMs as well. The tricky thing with follow-up boss is that we have to go into your YLOPO stars account in order to get them on a property search. So it just bogs down your ISA. You want to factor in an additional, 3 to 5 minutes per buyer that we have to get on your IDX feed, unless you wanted to handle that. But for us to log into our local stars and do everything, it's just a few more steps than some of the other CRMs. They make it really easy to do a property search and get your leads set up. But yeah, we can certainly do follow-up boss and work within Raya. She's YLOPO's AI, for those of you that don't know that. So yeah, Carlos, that's fine. Carlos said in the chat that he uses Vulcan 7 and follow-up boss. That's great. We love Vulcan 7. I get excited anytime we get a fresh Vulcan 7 account. So that's where I started. But if you're wanting to hire an ISA just to be able to dial your daily leads and make sure anything that's brand new off the market, I have packages designed for that, where you're not paying per appointment. All right, now I have an echo. Okay. Great questions, you guys. All right. Does anybody else have?
You're gonna go to that one?
Hold on.
Hey, Axel, how are you?
Yeah, I was calling. Is this call going to be recorded?
It is.
Is there a replay? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it's a link. Okay, great. Thank you.
What do you have going on? Or do you have a team? Are you a solo agent?
I'm a solo agent. I just hired 3 more VAs. I have 6 VAs going on. We call expires for sale by owners.
What's doing so I can warn all the others to just stay home today? You already figured out world domination.
Well, no, I got to figure out how the systems called, like part of your system lines of systems, have them follow up, monitor their calls, making sure they're calling. So that's why I signed up.
Absolutely. And then we have our ISA training specific just for ISAs that starts April 1st as well. So
Okay.
if you wanted to, you could have them all join for that one price, and we can
All
have
right.
all your ISAs, be trained and stuff as well.
Nice. I like that. Thanks
That's
a lot.
exciting. What city are you in?
Palm Springs, California.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you guys got some good data out there.
Yeah, so just making sure that everybody's calling, and like you said, 2 appointments an hour. My experience is they're getting 1 appointment a day, and I'd like to increase that.
Yeah. What system do you have them dialing in?
Vulcan and Espresso and Z buyers.
Okay. So do you have them integrated with the Mojo dialer at all?
No, I could look into that. The triple line dialer.
Yeah, Espresso might be a little bit difficult, but definitely Vulcan 7. And Espresso, do you have it for a different MLS, or do you have it in the same area? Because that's really just the sister company of Vulcan 7.
Yeah, I actually go outside my area too, like 2 minutes. So
Perfect. Yeah, that could all be integrated into Mojo really easily, and you'll have a tracking system. Then if your ISA steps away, for a little bit of time, it'll, we can get you on Time Doctor too, but it'll track what they're doing, their time on task, but then they can also use the triple line after they get through the new leads. And then Mojo is still mindful of the do not call list, in case you want them to be mindful of that. So it's really efficient.
I export the leads from Vulcan Espresso to Mojo. Is that how it works?
There's actually a seamless integration so that as you're dialing in Mojo, they update in Vulcan 7. I can't remember if they do with Espresso or not. We haven't had Espresso in a year or so. Jan, can you remember if Espresso Agent integrates with Mojo seamlessly? I remember we had.
I don't think. I don't think it does.
No, I think that was the problem that we had with Espresso, but Vulcan 7 does.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Follow Up Boss, of course, integrates with Mojo really nicely. So a lot of times if they're just doing 1 appointment a day, they're either just not being monitored, they don't have good time on task, or they're not rotating their data properly. So it's one of 3 things. With Vulcan 7, they should be setting, 1 appointment per 2-hour dialing sessions, unless the data is exhausted, and then they could be doing CP. But I mean, even 20 hours a week of CP, they should be setting, an appointment a day.
That's what the challenge is. So I got to see what exactly, if they are doing time on time task, or if they're just letting the dialer.
Yep.
They're just letting it run for 10 minutes and then they jump on the another call,
Make 1 call, rest for 10 minutes.
Yeah, gotta see what they're actually doing.
Time Doctor saved us on payroll because if you're inactive for 3 minutes, it shows it as inactive time. It also tracks if they're on Facebook or any of the other apps. So
really? What's that called?
Pretty affordable. TimeDoctor.com. They have to install this on their terminal, and then from there they log on. Right, every morning they log on. They say, "Yeah, I'm working," and then they have to say what they're doing, per that block of time. But that saved us. I mean, it's a management nightmare when you don't know what your ISAs are doing.
Time Doctor, that's what it's called? Okay, I look.
Yep. And I still have the classic version. I don't know if they sell it anymore, but the second version's still good. I just, I've had it for quite a few years and I never switched over from classic. So,
okay. I like that.
Yeah, I think it's like $2 a person.
Okay. Right there.
Yep. Yep. You're welcome. Yeah. ISA stuff is complicated. It gets to be very stressful. And, I understand that firsthand. And the more time you put to an ISA and the more it's not paying out, you just end up washing your hands of it. But, it's all we do. And, we've been doing it at a high level for quite a while now. So. Any other questions you guys have? No questions too silly or small or anything?
Hey, Aleta, it's Carl. Hey, great information. I'm definitely gonna book an appointment. Yeah, because I've done the ISA on my own thing, and yeah, I think the management side, you're right, it's a lot to learn. And I think so you do have like a service to help onboard ISAs, it sounds like.
Yeah.
that 60-day thing and
Yeah.
help get them on a routine, a schedule.
Yeah.
I think that'll definitely be helpful. And
Yeah.
it sounds like you also do all the circle dialing as well, and you'll do expired. Is that kind of like the same as ConvertWire? Is that what they do too?
So ConvertWire typically sells you the lead after they've already made contact, and we can dial through any ConvertWire leads that you've already purchased, or
Okay.
we can do something similar that ConvertWire does for you, where we geo-farm and circle prospect your area for you. And then anyone that we make contact with is updated on the list. So let's say that you get Cole Realty Resource or circle prospecting data from Mojo or Vulcan 7,
Okay.
your title company, and it's this bulk data, right? It's bulk. And
Okay.
we dial through it on your behalf, just, you know, seeing what their future plans are. A really good value proposition when we're dialing is when you're in a situation where you've had more buyers, more offers on a home. And, you know, we circle prospect an area saying, hey, we just sold this house, but we had 6 or 7 offers on it. There's clearly more buyers that want to live in your neighborhood. You know, have you checked your market values recently? And, you know, would you be interested in selling, you know, anytime this year? And by having an approach that's less aggressive, we usually find out, well, yeah, we've been wanting to sell, but, you know, we don't know if there's anything out there to buy. And then that's our opening to get a listing appointment set for you guys, even if it's just virtual, for you guys to be in front of them, helping them. And another great way to get off market listing appointments, or, you know, pair up your buyers with your sellers without getting a sign in the ground.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, cool. I'll book an appointment. Thanks.
All that. You can hire us for ISA services. And, you know, what I was kind of explaining to Leah and Sarah is that we can build that foundation for you to hire an ISA into, which really takes all the guesswork out for you guys, because we go into depth on how are appointments being set? What does that look like? Even down to creating that, or, you know, guiding you through creating that company Gmail, or we create one that stays with your account. That way, when you get an ISA, they take over our logins and, you know, just pick up right where we left off with the spreadsheets and the job forms, the accountability meetings, you know, and
Right.
the lead sources. So having us have, you know, 60 days or 90 days in your account, building it out while you're hiring one, and then they can go into ISA training with us, you know, that would be invaluable for you. You'd be able to be a bit more hands-on.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Cool. I will book my appointment now. Thanks.
Hey, awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited to
Same
help
here.
see your team grow.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you guys have some great CRMs and some great data. This is it's exciting for us because you know, having a CRM that we know the ins and out of already, or the data that, you know, we know the conversion rates will help you out to be successful faster. Is there any other questions right offhand? If not, I'm going to jump off, you guys, and then I have my content creator and my lead manager, GM, and anyone that's willing to do a 30-second, you know, review just on the course, just saying, hey, just you know, anything that we can use for, you know, our website or any type of content, you know, very much appreciate it. Leah, did you have another question? I wasn't sure if you had a question or not. Sorry, you're on mute. She might be on a phone call. All right, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. I'll see you all next week. We're going to send out reminders. It'll be next week, Tuesday, noon Central Time, and we'll dive into week 2. Definitely take a look at your 135s. If you have any questions as far as how to align them, you can bring them to our class, or just message me directly. But I hope this was of value to you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys all next week. Jan, I've made you the host. I'm going to go ahead and jump off, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you.